How do you find and keep hope alive?
Blessed are the meek has so much more validity to me now, because in meekness there's serving. I can't talk about or teach humility, but I can show you, because that's what Jesus did with us.
I will find hope in what Jesus Christ did for me.
This is what hope sounds like.
Hey, I'm Doc, and over the last few months, we've had the opportunity to shine the light on several communities to find out how Jesus is doing a work in those communities. And we found another community that really kind of represents mill towns all across North Carolina and South Carolina and other southern states. Mill towns who have suffered over the long haul and had economic pressures, and Longview is not unlike other mill communities. I had the opportunity to talk with FreshFire pastor Sam Crow about Longview, about Jesus' work in Longview, and about the hands and feet of Jesus.
So let's start with the area we're talking about, Longview, Hildebran, and the mission of going in there and helping some folks. Give me some background on that whole idea.
If you could have an old mentality of hometown, where you have all the influxes of influence everywhere. So you have the affluent families, you have the middle class families, but then you also have the element of people who struggle, and they struggle on different levels. And this area, the Hildebran area and the Longview area, is a perfect example of what I feel like many communities are in our country, is that there is an affluency, but there is a big affinity for trying to reach people who either are unchurched, hurt churched, or that they do not understand that there are programs or resources available to them to help them in some capacity. Yeah. And so it's always been an important part of my ministry, or the ministry that the Lord has called us to, just that we can get out and make ourselves known to those people.
I know that there's a reputation, because I've talked to the police chief and the mayor of Longview, and they have both said that, hey, you know what, there's a reputation that we don't really deserve in relation to drugs and poverty and unemployment. And so what's your feeling on that coming in from the outside? Not statistics, but just the heart part of that.
I have come to find that in this particular area, there is a great group of people who are willing to involve them. What we've seen here in the ministry at this church is that there is a great group of people who are willing to attach themselves to the people who have need. Mm-hmm. But as I said earlier, there is this reluctance, whether they're affluent, financially stable, middle class, there is this reluctance based on the persona of what media puts out there.
Yes.
That everyone is a crook.
Right.
And that's just not the case. Not everyone is out to run a scam or to cheat the church out of something or to rob you. That's just not always the case. And it's just overcoming that influence, probably from my perspective, is that we have done a poor job as a church in some regards in my years of ministry of overriding that mentality. Christ made a point of saying, the poor you will have with you always. Right. And there's a reason that he would say something like that, is to let them know that this is going to be something that you're going to deal with on a regular basis. Yeah. People are going to have need. Everywhere Christ went, he was followed by people who had need, whether it was healings, financial, poverty, however you want to displace it or name it. Yeah. He was followed by this, and he said, you will have with you always. Yeah. And so it's just managing that in a way that people are not turned off to it.
Right.
Christ made a point of making it relevant to those that followed him. This is what you're going to deal with. And so if we can find a way to help in a healthy way, to show people that you can help the community and you can help that segment of people who need that kind of help,
Yeah.
There is a way to do that, but to do it with Christ's heart, Christ's spirit, Christ guiding.
Let's talk a little bit about the event coming up on the 26th, and
Yes,
then
sir.
I want to come back to a hope story.
Okay.
So what's going on the 26th? Let's talk about who, what, when, where, why.
On August 26th, what we're going to do is we're going to be having an event at the food line in Hildebran in the parking lot, and we've gotten express permission from them to do that, which we were excited that they agreed to do that. So that there'll be plenty of parking, and it's just going to be a community event where we're giving things away. Where there will be clothing and school supplies. There will be clothing for men, women, children. We've had donations come in from other businesses in the Hickory area that have given us brand new shoes for children, just little small children, infant children, up to what size? I'm trying to think. Up to 2 years old. Yeah. So, I mean, just 180 pair, I believe.
Wow,
it's
that's amazing.
But they're still in the box, and that's the thing, is that all the things that we're giving away are not just hand-me-downs. There'll be things that, we're going to have some usage on it, but there will be some brand new things as well. Also, we're going to be giving away free meals that day, 300 chicken meals that day. We're having a group that comes out on site, and they're going to be cooking on site.
Is that
from
grilling for God? Is that what
correct,
it is? Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so we'll be giving those meals away between 11 and 1 o'clock. And anyone that comes, they'll be fed and they'll be loved on. I'm a big proponent of on-the-spot prayer. Often people will ask you, if you're out in public, especially if you're a pastor, they'll say, "Oh, Pastor, will you help me pray?" or "Will you pray?" And I'll say, "Let's do it right here."
Yeah, right.
I think too often we get a little lackadaisical when we ask.
Well, and especially in a pastor position, they put you in that.
They think my prayers are going to make a bigger effect.
Right, because you've got the title.
But God wants to hear from them.
That's right.
And so let's do it together.
Amen.
In concert and believing, two or more, so that we can see you grow in this experience as well.
This event that you have coming up on the 26th at Food Lion in Hildebran, starting at 8 in the morning, food at 11, giveaways all day.
Yes,
it's whosoever. Yes,
absolutely.
Okay.
There is no restraint. There is no restrictions. Whoever comes will come, and that's who we want to serve. It's for the community. It's called Community Day for a reason.
And I happen to know, because little Birdie told me you have like 75 volunteers.
At FreshFire Church, we've never had an issue about people participating or being involved.
This idea of the hands and feet of Jesus, and sometimes people want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, but just as long as I can wear gloves or I don't get my hands dirty.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Isn't that true?
Doc. Wow.
And so what I would like to do... I
didn't know that you would go there, but you're going there.
What I want to do is to give people hope, those people who sit in that chair and go, I do want to help, but I kind of feel a little whatever about getting my hands dirty, and how do I walk through that? But the hope part of, I'm wondering if you know some stories of some volunteers. I'm always looking for, so where's Jesus in all this? Where's Jesus? Tell me about Jesus. So if I'm a volunteer in your world, and maybe not necessarily for the 26th, but some events in the past where you've seen volunteers' lives changed because they did this service work. Can you draw on a story maybe where you've seen Jesus in all of that mix?
What we have found in the ministry that we've been able to do in reaching out to the community is that their hope is restored in attaching themselves to kingdom work and not just church work.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Okay. Talk about that.
Well, the difference is that some people come in and think that just because they're involved with a hot dog day, or it's a potluck, or just attendance, that they're doing church work. But kingdom work goes outside the four walls. Yeah. The four walls of this facility they're just here to contain us for a moment of worship and unity and like-mindedness, so that we can come together and recharge and be ready to be effective for the community that we go out and touch, whether it's our jobs that we go to on a normal basis, or whether it's our acquaintances or even our families, that we can be effective in our homes. Mm-hmm. If we can find ourselves understanding that kingdom work goes so much further outside and not just within the four walls of this facility, I think that we will be much more effective in winning hearts and souls to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Because kingdom encompasses so much. I think even for myself, early, after 30-something years of ministry, in my early years of ministry, I thought it was involved in an organization, or I thought that it was just involved in the group that I was attached to, and not realizing Christendom is so much bigger.
Yeah.
Christendom is so much more than just the four walls of the facility you're in. And so as these people have come in, and they have begun to be involved in things that we do outside of the church, or the philosophies that the Lord has laid on my heart about ministry, whether it's the membership conversation that we have,
Sure,
or our attachment to schools in this area, backpack ministries, and supplies and supplying those backpack ministries and things like that. They are being encouraged and restored into seeing a broader spectrum of kingdom work than just what's involved in the house. And that's been the encouraging thing for me, is that when people will come back and they'll say, we did not realize that there was so much need outside, or that I could be a part of something that is not just with the group that I sit with on Sunday. If we limit ourselves based on just where we sit on a Sunday morning and who we sit with, then the word limit really becomes so much bigger in our life.
yeah, it's all caps and bold.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We're missing the opportunity to grow and to go if we're not willing to attach ourselves to community work. Well, just recently we just had some families that within the last year that have joined us. The biggest thing was for them was that we were doing some activities, and they were starting to get involved, and they were using some of their God-given talents and gifts to be involved. And they told me in a private conversation, they pulled me to the side after an event, and they said, we didn't realize that we could feel so good doing this. That in the past, they felt like they were just going through the motions. It was laborious to them, that this was what they were asked to do, and they did it because that they thought they had to do it in their Christendom, or whether it was in their church obligation.
Right.
And they didn't understand the joy. And isn't that a beautiful thing to think about, that when the Bible talks about joy unspeakable, or joy that the world doesn't give to you but only Christ can give to you, it begins to take on a new perspective for someone who's actually, these were people that were involved in church for years and didn't have joy in doing ministry.
I think in all of this is as we do in our ministry, is trying to activate the quote unquote the people who are actually in the Bible and studying and really committed to Him, and then going that one step further of going, okay, well, there's more to this for you.
Yeah,
with joy.
Have you found yourself in your particular ministry and what you're doing through the station and things like that? Have you found that people are in that same? I hate to say prison, but do you confinement? I would say. Have you found that you've been running into
jail?
that?
I mean, however you want to term it, but yeah, there's a definite barrier, a barrier to joy, as you've described it in a different way. But and we see it. We see and also to help people make that jump, as you say, that they're sitting in the pews. They come every Sunday. They come on Wednesday. And we do services. We have a breakfast. They come and serve and all that. But they're not experiencing the joy. And so we see the same thing. And what we say is, come and pray, just like you said. Drop everything, pray now. Come and pray with us and watch how Jesus multiplies. Watch how He honors all of that with that joy and that peace and the things the Bible talks about beyond understanding.
Early on, just in the years that I've been in ministry, just looking back, I limited myself based on structure and not allowing the Spirit to flow or allowing myself to get caught in that flow. I thought that the righteousness that I had to have was so wrapped up within the organization. It was wrapped up within the hierarchy that was over me, and I had to have acceptance from them. But what I've been finding over the last 11 years in ministry here, and what the new work that God's doing in us and through us and for us, is that the flow that I'm in now is now in serving, in servanthood, and that there's, I guess I see now more today than what I saw 30 years ago, is blessed are the meek, has so much more validity to me now. Because in meekness, there's serving. I can't talk about or teach humility, but I can show you, because that's what Jesus did with us. He showed the disciples. And we had a foot washing.
Yeah.
We had new people who had never experienced that, never done it. Yeah. And so just qualifying it and talking them through it before we did it and explaining to them why we were going to have this experience, I can tell you not one person did not participate. To allow ourselves to get to that place where in one moment with one person, their foot in your hand, it gives you better perspective about being in the presence of hundreds of people in a parking lot.
Yes.
Okay, now the perspective has changed. If I can hold one person's foot in my hand and pray for them earnestly in one moment, how much more if I can, Lord, put myself in that meek moment and put myself in a servant moment, how much more beautiful will it be that I'm standing in a parking lot with someone I've never met who has 2 kids, no food, no income, no hope. They're struggling, single parent, or maybe they're 2 parents. Maybe there's health issues involved. Maybe there's family issues involved. I don't know. But how much more beautiful to take that person's moment and share with them and just pray with them in that moment as well. There has to be, in this walk, there has to be this element. And Jesus knew that, or he would have never taken off his outer cloak. He never would have taken that towel on. He never would have knelt at the feet of the disciples and said, if I don't do this, how can I say I can't do that? Wouldn't the pinnacle of this walk be that we get past the idea or the thought or the process that I need this?
Yeah.
And just say, I want this.
Like this.
Saul, originally, at his conversion, he disappears for a while. And he begins to relate the scriptures to the person of Christ. And then he takes all that time to come back as Paul and then walk through Asia Minor, and he didn't say we need this. He wants to make this happen. Yeah. He wants to establish this. Yeah. So if we do it on a personal scale, yes, we need it. But when do we get to the place in our walk that we say, I want this. I want to help people. I want to be there for others. I want to be the hands and the feet and the eyes and the ears of Christ. I want to be this person that Christ is changing me into, and that he's purposing me to be. Wasn't that what he did with the disciples? Because we're talking about a band of people who abandoned him at the cross, all of a sudden turning into these people that wanted to walk that walk to the point they were martyrs.
That's right.
There's a big difference there. So I like the word need, but I think in the walk of the believer, I think there has to be some want. Yeah. And those are things that I've experienced here at the churches with our volunteers that you were at. If we go back to your original question, just to what we're seeing with these people, right. I don't need to do this I don't need to do this to be accepted or to fall into the chasm of works. I want to do this. because it's what Christ did.
So we want your to come and want to be with us on the 26th in Hildebran at the Food Lion, starting at 8 in the morning. You can come, and I'm sure volunteers will be happy to be new volunteers on the day of. But if you just want to come and join us, or even just pray with us, if you're not in need and you want to, we want you there. And it's coming up on the 26th.
Absolutely, yeah. No, there's no question. We would welcome anybody.
Thank you for doing what you do and doing the event on the 26th.
No, we're thrilled and honored. Thank you so much.